when I first came to Kenya, actually years ago, now 8 years ago, to do business, you know what the first thing people told me? They said, you better buy some suits and some ties if you're going to do business in Africa. Shit. I told them, I said, listen, I haven't worn a suit and tie in 45 years. I ain't starting now.
The Afropreneur Podcast, a podcast for African entrepreneurs, presents inspiring, innovative, and disruptive entrepreneurs from Africa as they share their lessons, insights, and learnings from their unique entrepreneurial ventures. I'll be your host. My name is Ogweno Stephen. Let's roll.
You know?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying to you is, culturally, I mean, first thing, like 40% of the medicines, of original medicines that had been produced were all from natural products. Okay? In America, the good thing is my ancestors maintained that stuff. Whereas here, through the colonization, folks just threw it away. And still, I had a person who worked with me 2 days ago, came to work, and in the afternoon, he was feeling very bad. He said, I felt horrible this morning. And I said, what's wrong? He said, I had a really bad cold. I said, okay, so what'd you do? He said, I went to the hospital. I said, you went to the hospital for a cold? Mm-hmm. You mean the first day you get a cold, you went to the hospital? I said, my God. I said, okay. I said, but wow. I said, in America, nobody goes to the hospital for a cold, particularly on the first day. Mm. A cold? And they look at you like, I said, listen, either they would use something natural, combination of natural things, or they would use something over the counter. But no one goes to the hospital. I'm just trying to show you how. Then I mentioned to him about motivationalquotes. I said, well, you should take some neem. Mm. And he says, what do you mean? Motivationalquotes. I said, explain. Motivationalquotes, blah, blah, blah. I said, if you knew the culture of your ancestors, you'd know about motivationalquotes and how it could have helped you. Mm-hmm. You know what? Later, half an hour later, I said to him, hey, wait a minute. I forgot. I didn't take my vitamins today, and I have some motivationalquotes. Do you know he ran? A grown man. He ran away from me. He works for me. Mm-hmm. He ran away from me. Okay? That's how deeply seated the madness is. Mm.
So I kind of want to ask you a question. Sorry for interrupting.
Not at all.
No, that Africans generally, this knowledge is there that, Africa has been the cradle of mankind and all that. And there's rich information regarding how Africa has contributed to even the current civilization and even the development of the world. But what is this that is keeping Africans in this chokehold of white supremacy, where something from the white is the standard of measure, and we are appreciating that? What is this that is stopping us from, or preventing us from appreciating our culture?
Well, you have to appreciate your history first. Meaning, if you don't know what you've done, mm-hmm. you have no capacity, no idea what you can do. Give you an example. 3 years ago, Brother Lumumba, who I hold in the highest regard, he asked me to do a presentation where I met Stephen.
Well, we were with him too.
Yes. So after Stephen spoke, I was ready to sit down. I was like, I ain't got nothing to say. So he asked me to do a presentation. And it was at a Catholic university or whatever, right? And it was a meeting that he funded and sponsored of about 250 of the brightest so-called leaders in Africa from all over the continent. It was quite an event and quite a wonderful thing that he did. So I was honored to speak to this group of young minds, right? The young leaders of the future. So the ancestors spoke to me and said, instead of going into your presentation and blah, blah, what you want to do, first thing you want to do is give homage to your ancestors and pour libation. So I did that, which kind of blew their mind. But then from there, I asked a question. I said, listen, I'm going to ask the question to the audience before I speak. And I said, okay, I have this question for you, and whoever has an answer, just raise your hand. I'd like to know for you to name a person or persons who are African, who've provided and done work in whatever area of life that had a profound impact on the world. Okay? Raise hands, raise hand. Well, and I was like, and so I responded, they didn't have an answer. The only person out of 250 people who had an answer was an African from the diaspora, from Jamaica. And he had an answer.
The guy.
Yeah. Now, I don't know, the ancestors led me to do that, but it shows you how can there be a future for Africans when the Africans' youth leadership don't have a clue to even look up to, like Marumbi. You know what I'm saying? Or there's so many people they could have said, hey, this man so-and-so. I mean, this man so-and-so. This woman, these women who did X, I mean, they couldn't think of one continental African or non-continental African who they thought had a presence in the world that was beneficial and profound. You know, I was like, oh my God. But it's true. So I'm just showing you how, and these are young people with great minds, with energy. But if you don't know your history, you're small inside. See, the thing that gives me my strength is my knowledge and the sense of being carried by my ancestors. Meaning, I look at my life, and I look at it and say, hey, I'm building on what the ancestors provided and what they did. And that connectedness and protection, because I find folks here, like, you mentioned the ancestors, they get squeamish, and I get comfortable. I'll tell a person, my wife will tell you, I'll tell you in a heartbeat. So people will say, well, how'd you figure out this? And I said, hey, the ancestors gave me the information. They told me, hey, this is how you want to operate. This is what you want to do. This morning, you do this. I don't ask. I don't back check the ancestors. I go with it.
I see.
So I'm saying, if we must, you have to have courage. You don't get courage with degrees. I don't have a degree from no white folk from nowhere. Okay? White people can't say, he's one of ours, or yeah, he's radical, but he's one of ours. They can't say nothing. They can't take no credit for what I've done in the world. Okay? But if you have that sense of confidence, see, we don't have a sense of, what I was saying earlier, a sense of place and space. See, I get more respect from white people than I want. I mean it. And I go to places where there are no Africans, no black folks, and I operate in those arenas, and I get respect. See, people respect the real McCoy. Yeah. They respect those who have a sense of who they are, who we are, what we've done. And you don't have to wear African garb, though that's what I wear. But you don't have to do, all you have to do is be comfortable in your own skin as an African. Sure. That's your power. That's the power I have. When I first came to Kenya 8 years ago to do business, the first thing people told me, they said, you better buy some suits and some ties if you're going to do business in Africa. Shit. I told them, I said, listen, I haven't worn a suit and tie in 45 years. I ain't starting now. I wore what I do wear, which is African garments, to everything I've done here. And let me tell you, I've got nothing. But people, it ain't what you're wearing, it's what you got inside. And people see it. See, people can see people who are just dressing and people who are fronting and people who are the original McCoy, the Elijah McCoy. Now, Elijah McCoy, African, American, major inventor, someone who helped to his invention, one of his inventions, the so-called drip cup, was pivotal to the industrialization of America. That's why people all over the world say, I want the real McCoy, not knowing they're talking about an African and what an African did. So
I see.
See, but when you know, listen, when you know what we have contributed to the world, going back from ancient Kemet forward, just a sketch of it. You are somebody to be reckoned with. And white folks recognize it. Me, you, this brother, and 10 other people can walk in the same room. They can, I'm telling you, I get more respect for white people than I want. And don't have a suit, haven't had a suit, won't have a suit. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not thinking about having a suit.
Hey.
Okay, I think that is the best place to stop. And I love the fact that we have gotten rich information around how Africans themselves can, remove themselves from this chokehold of white supremacy and everything. And I think one of the questions that maybe we'll be confronted with is, really, are we able to achieve that future utopia where we go back to the Kemet or the ancient Kemet? I think that will be a good question for the next episode. But thank you for this one.
Quite a question.
Yeah, thank you.
Alright, thanks for listening, and that's a wrap for this episode. For more exciting episodes like this, don't forget to follow our podcast, the Afropreneurs Podcast, on all streaming sites, and visit our website at www.ogwenostephen.com. See you on the next one.